So, yeah, right. So, first and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yehovah, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rekakodash. We say double and Apostle, Elos, Agreeable, and Arubal, our teachers, our apostles in truth, and we say salutations so they are came, so they push you with not truth and sincerity, day in and day out, in a constantly in season of the season, we say Shalom. And then once again, going into our video here, and let's touch on upon some news. Now, this goes into, right, that the food shortage, right? That's been being talked about, all over, and being talked about consistently due to the fact that of the war, right, that's happening in the Middle East, right? You see, because with oil reason, energy crisis, um, right, and many other things that's happening from that. um, Farmers are already mentioning and put a note, that there's going to be a global food shortage, as you can see right here. If farmers are telling you that there's sorry, so this person, man, if farmers are telling you there's going to be a global food shortage in less than 6 months, we need to listen. Now, there's a lot of information coming outside there where farmers are mentioning that they are not getting enough fertilizer, right, to grow crops, right, due to the fact of what's happening in the Middle East. Ships not um bringing the fertilizers, right. You also have to watch on the other side where there was some major companies that bought over the farming industry. Sorry, the farming industry, which is who? BlackRock, right? BlackRock and BG, the Gates, right? They actually own a certain. They actually own majority of the farming land, right, or the farming industry, right? Which is the other side of it. But hey, as you can see, the talk has been going out that there's going to be a global food shortage in less than 6 months. Now, if you want to look up that on um different news pages, and you would see that it's true. A lot of farmers are mentioning this. Now, they were actually mentioning for the longest while, but now that fertilizer, right, is not being delivered to them, it's causing a heavy shortage, right. Now, the crops itself wouldn't be able to come in time, right. Now, I'm gonna bring a scripture here. I want to go to I'm gonna go to let me read Surah. I want to go to the book of Surah chapter 40, and I'll go read from verse 8. Verse 8. It says, "Such things happen unto all flesh, both man and beast, and that is sevenfold more upon sinners. Death and bloodshed, strife and sword, calamities, famine, tribulation and the scourge. These things are created for the wicked, and for their sakes came the flood." So these things were created for the wicked, right? But as you can see, what's being said is what death and bloodshed, strife and sword, calamities, famine, right? It's famine, tribulation, and scourge. These things are created for the wicked, and for their sakes came the flood, right? And their sakes came the flood. They're created for who? For the wicked, right? Another scripture I want to go to is 2 Ezra chapter 16 verse 21. They say, "Behold, victual shall be so good cheap upon the earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case. And even then shall evils grow up on earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. What's growing up on earth? Sword, famine, and great confusion. And you're actually seeing that. You're hearing that. Right? You go in the groceries, you would see, but due to the fact that as the beginning of the verse said, behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth that they shall think to themselves to be in good case. So right, so they think themselves to be in a good case. They think nothing is getting bad. They thinking that everything is getting better and better. When really and truly, it's only going as the next piece say, and even then shall evils grow upon earth. So it's getting worse. Evils is growing. So they're saying here, if farmers are telling you there's going to be a global food shortage in less than 6 months, we need to listen. So today, Jay could go in the grocery, they could go in the market, they could go in the shop, right? And they could buy food. They could get food cheap. They could go and buy out. Some of them is buying in abundance and waste it, right? So they think everything to them, everything good, it not going and get bad, right? They talk about these things here is like a lie to them. Like that would be considered a conspiracy, right? But watch, there's so much. It's a today is also farmers. Let me see if I get this. Alright, notice one here. Right, so let me go into some of the comments here. If farmers are telling you there's going to be a global food shortage in less than 6 months, we need to listen, right? And we know, hey, they're not going to listen. I say everyone is watching oil, nobody is watching nitrogen. Oil is the crisis on your dashboard. Nitrogen is the crisis on your plate, right? They say half of all food produced on earth depends on synthetic nitrogen fertilizer. Half not a niche input, not a supplement, not the fundamental chemistry that keeps 4 billion people fed, made from natural gas exported through one strait, the same strait that's been sorted, not closed for 5 weeks. A third of global seaborne fertilizer trade moves through Hormuz. It's nearly half of traded urea. Gulf plants are offline. Force majeure declared. Millions of tons bottled up. Urea prices spike 30 to 60% in weeks, and it's April, the exact month American farmers need nitrogen in the ground for crop, because we go ahead and into the time, like if you know farming, like this is we in the time where is like the proper time to plant due to the fact of what the weather, right? So but as you can see, as if this person say here, Gulf plants are offline. Force majeure declared, places are closing. No, millions of tons of bottled up. Urea prices spiked 30 to 60% in weeks, just in weeks, and so farmers can't even afford to get it stopped that they make the plants go, right? So if say the U.S. Corn Belt runs on nitrogen the way your car runs on gas, no nitrogen, no yield. Not lower yield, catastrophically lower yield. USDA is already projecting farmers shifting 1 to 1.5 million acres from corn to soybeans because they can't afford or find the fertilizer. That's not a market adjustment. That's a food supply contraction baked in before the first seed hits soil. Right? They say India's Kharif season starts in June. Rice, maize, cotton, 1.4 billion people's staple crops, nitrogen dependent, global prices spiking, supply chains disrupted. The government says stocks are adequate. Farmers say they panic buying. One of those voices is closer to the ground, right? Diplomats negotiate in quarters. Farmers plant in windows. The corn planting window doesn't care about ceasefire timelines. The Kharif season doesn't wait for the UN to reconvene. Miss the window and the yield loss is locked in for the entire year. And there's something people fail to realize, right? That all the talk that's been talked about, even Germany president said, Australia president said, right? Some of these presidents already mentioned that even if what's happening in the Middle East stop today, it already has its global impact, right? And it would take a good while to actually fix. So it already locked in, right? The damage is already done, right? They say no amount of the diplomacy, in July fixes a field that wasn't fertilized in April. All prices spike and drivers complain. Nitrogen prices spike and harvest shrink. 6 months later, quietly, invisibly, until the grocery bill arrives and nobody connects it to the street. Most people can't find on the map, right? So yeah, right. So that way it say, and the scripture say what? And even then shall evils grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. That is what growing, right? This is what growing, and you see it says sword, famine, and great confusion. That is what food and growing in it. This is evils growing, not food, right? Things is getting worse. For many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, a food shortage, right? The scarcity of food, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. Because it a men gonna be it's gonna be chaotic, right? Gonna be very chaotic in that time. Is men don't care, right? When a hungry man is an angry man, right? So it's until the grocery bill arrives and nobody connected to the street, most people can't find the map. Farmers are saying it now. In replies in forums in Mexico where fertilizer shipments stopped, in Iowa where input costs double, in India where wholesalers are rationing. The people closest to the soil are sounding the alarm. The people closest to the news cycle are still talking about oil. Deals can wait, diplomats can wait, sanctions can wait, corn can't, rice can't. The planting window is open right now and closing by the week. The Hamas crisis incident isn't an energy crisis, it's food crisis. We're in an oil costume, and by the time the world notices, the fields will already be empty, right? So and I know when the fields empty, what's going to happen? You know that and when stuff get bad, we feel cannibalism. A man might watch somebody else's food. You know, all these things written in the scripture, that I say, to hearken unto the sword, to the word of the Lord, prophecy, right? These things, it's getting worse day by day, week by week, right? I know this is what the person say here. It doesn't matter, even if it's top, it already set in stone, right? So, famine is on the brink, right? So they bring these things is playing out. Evils is increasing. So with that, once again, I give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakadash. We say that on Apostle Elisagre Muslim Rubel, our teachers, our apostles in truth, and we say salutations to the Akim. So they push you with no truth and sincerity, day in and day out, and constantly in season, receiving say shalom.